Why would you get the Helio Strap Pro over the original Helio Strap? In this video, we're going to compare the two models to each other and see what type of data each of them gets and which one might be best for your situation. If you want to see everything that's in the box with the Helio Strap Pro, make sure to click on the video up top to see the first impressions and unboxing of the Helio Strap Pro. Firstly, let's talk about what's new with the Helio Strap Pro. There's a 9-axis IMU in here, which is meant to give you more superior orientation data, and the device is meant to know a bit more of where it is within its space. Whilst the older Helio Strap came with a 6-axis IMU. And the Helio Strap Pro actually also comes with the Core Motion waist, which you can put around your waist, and it's meant to give you even more data based on the positioning of your body and seeing how well you're performing certain exercises, specifically high rocks exercises. So you're meant to see things like lateral sway, as well as muscular load exercise with the waist core. Now, sadly, I have not been able to actually test the actual waist sensor itself, purely because I don't train for high rocks. So I couldn't get this thing to activate on its own with the Helio Strap Pro, as you also need to have an Amazfit watch to be able to see and get all that data itself. So all three separate devices have to be connected to each other to be able to see things like your muscular load per exercise. I've not been able to get an Amazfit watch to help me test that sort of data. Also, I don't have any facilities to do high rocks trainings either. So what I've done is I've actually just tested the Motion HR with the actual Helio Strap itself to see if the changes that are made with the Helio Strap Pro actually make a difference or not between the original Helio Strap, and debating on which one you should actually get. But the battery on these devices are actually shockingly similar, and I could even say that they're identical. Even though the original Helio Strap has a 10-day battery life, whilst the Helio Strap Pro actually has an 11-day battery life, they have actually been exactly the same, and I've been able to push them into the 12-day battery life mark. So they're both really good, and they're both exactly the same with their battery life as well. Charging speed was also relatively quick. It took about 1.5 to 2 hours to be able to charge this from roughly 5% to 100%. So within 2 hours, you have an 11-day battery life, which is pretty good on both of these devices. And the two things that are actually really cool about these two devices is that the modules and the accessories are all interchangeable. So you can actually have the Helio Strap Pro module within the older Helio Strap band as well. As personally, I prefer the original Helio Strap band because it just looks a lot nicer. It's a bit sleeker. It's not as aggressive in a way, whilst the Pro is definitely a bit more of an aggressive look. I definitely prefer the color scheme of the Pro. I like that the module itself is hidden and it just looks like a strap from the outside. So that's why I find the Helio Strap band a bit nicer to use instead of the Helio Strap Pros. But to be honest, I use them mostly on my bicep. I don't really use these bands, but if I had to choose one, then I would choose the Helio Strap band because it just seems a lot nicer and a lot sleeker for your day-to-day life. And the charging pucks fit them both identically. They're exactly the same measurements, and they all can use the same charging puck, which is a magnetic charging puck. So it's super nice to use and very easy to attach onto both devices. For comfort-wise, both straps have felt actually really comfortable, and I have no complaints about them. I don't really have a preference on the wristband bands because they both feel pretty much identical. But for the bicep band, I prefer the Helio Strap Pro's band, as it just has that Velcro for really easy adjustments, and it's also a little bit flexible. So even if you've done it a little too tight or a little too loose, then it will shrink up a little bit and really help you get that nice comfort. So I've been really enjoying that bicep band a lot. And using a bicep band really frees up your wrist for just wearing a mechanical and nice watch, whilst wearing a smartwatch on my wrist just doesn't really give the same feel as a mechanical watch does. So you can get the best of both worlds with that, where you're getting a nice mechanical watch and you're wearing that, but also tracking all of your fitness data throughout the day. So it really gives that best of both world feel. If you're liking the video so far on these two Helio straps, then please go down, give me a like, and maybe even a subscribe to see even more in-depth videos on the Helio Strap or other fitness tech in the near future. So I got my trusty iPad over here with all of the data sets. And pretty much what I've looked into is I've just done a step count and decided to do it on different parts of the body. If we look at the first 10 days of the data that I've been getting, I actually wore both of the devices on my biceps, so trying to get as close of an accuracy as possible. And as you can see with the step count, it's actually pretty accurate overall. The only thing, an anomaly that I can really see, is just the first day where it was 87%. But to be honest, I think it was just calibrating itself for that time. Because if you look at all the other days, they've actually been super similar. You're looking at 89%, 89%, 99, 96, 95, 98, 98, 99, 98. So it's been really good overall, and it's only missing by about 100 to 300 steps per device per day. So it's been doing pretty well, and it's pretty accurate, to be honest. And the correlation on this has just been A1, so this has been really good actually, and they're both calculating steps exactly the same as the other one would. And the Helio Strap Pro and the normal Helio Strap are just calculating the steps exactly the same way based off of the bicep. Now, I also wanted to do some days where I just had one on my wrist and one on the bicep, so I was very curious to see that type of data as well. So actually I wore the normal Helio Strap on my bicep whilst having the Pro on my wrist. And even then, we're looking at 96, 99. There was one anomaly of 82% over there, but it's nothing too crazy. And 89 and 91 again. So it was still correlating pretty well. There were slightly bigger gaps than from bicep to bicep, but even then from wrist to bicep data, it was actually very similar to each other. So I was pretty impressed with that one. And I also decided to do it the other way around as well. So I have the normal Helio Strap on my wrists here, whilst having the Helio Strap Pro on my bicep. And even then, we're still deep in the 90s, so 94, 95, 95, 98, one anomaly again of 85, but they're all still correlating with each other, and the steps are really close to each other. So no matter where you'll be wearing it, either on your arm or on your bicep, they're gonna talk to each other pretty well, and they have very similar data, to be honest. So I was pretty pleased with that. And here are just some graphs to show that it's pretty accurate and it looks pretty good to me in general. So now I wanted to check the sleep tracking data, and to be honest, at first I thought it was gonna go pretty well, and I was really happy with the sleep tracking on this. Because if we look purely just based off of the amount of time you've slept with both of these watches, the first 10 days were on the biceps again, so both of them on one bicep. The accuracy is just super close. They both measure the time from going to sleep and waking up pretty much exactly the same. I mean, you're looking at 98, 98, 99, couple of hundreds even, so that's amazing. Super accurate. Can't get more accurate than 100. And the rest are all 90, so it's super close, very good correlation, and the amount of time from when you go to sleep to when you wake up is pretty much identical. The next one's having the original Helio Strap on my wrist and the Pro on my bicep, and even then 99, 99, 97, and the rest 99, so pretty much all exactly the same. And then I swapped it around. A little different here, I got one anomaly, see here with 90, but to be honest, all the same, 98, 98, 97, 98, all very good and pretty much identical. Now, where I think it falls flat is just how it calculates the deep sleep and the REM sleep on both these devices. And I think both of them are just guessing quite a lot. They fluctuate all over the place based off of my testing. So the first 10 days were on my bicep, and as you can see here, we have one day which is 80%, one that's 89%, 90, 81, 85, 82, 90, but 75%. That's starting to get a little low, and they're not really talking to each other that much. And even on day 10, I see 50%, which is really not that good, to be honest. So total correlation of 70 means that it's still good, but it's not identical. So they're definitely measuring sleep a little differently. So even if we look at comparing the wrist to the bicep data over here, a couple of really good days, so 98 and 90, but then again, we still have a 70 and a 60 day. So it's still a little bit random for me. Correlation's still okay, it's still good, but it's not excellent. This was with the Helio Strap Pro on the wrist and normal Helio Strap on my bicep. And here you can actually see 80, 86. The lowest was 66 this time, so it was a bit closer to each other that time, which led it to a 77 correlation. So it's still good, and REM sleep is the weakest point about both of these devices, and I think definitely there needs to be something a bit changed with the REM sleep. But to calculate REM sleep from something like this is very difficult. So you have to take that also into account, that every device that's on your wrist or on your bicep, it's just very difficult for them to read REM sleep and to know what type of sleep you're getting. So with them both on the bicep, they're actually pretty similar. I mean, the worst day that I can find on here is actually 86, but the rest all being high 80s or even low 90s to high 90s is actually really good. With a correlation of 88 is just fantastic. So you can't really complain with that at all. But where it really falls apart is when you have one on the wrist and one on the bicep. But as you can see here, it might look good on paper with 97, 98. The correlation is really bad, to be honest. And that's just because if you put it in a graph, if the numbers decreased on one Helio strap but went up the same day, then you're gonna get these weird correlation numbers. So for example, here is a weird thing that really messes up the correlation. Here as well, where actually one goes up and the other goes down, so it doesn't really correlate that much. And here as well. So it has some really difficult times with it trying to get your REM sleep. So even in this last graph where I swapped them around, the biggest thing that really affected the correlation score, as you can see, it is actually 33, so it's not that good at all, is this big spike here where there's such a big difference. And Helio Strap just goes down a huge amount whilst the Helio Strap Pro just stays up the whole time. So those types of spikes really influence the correlation score. And with the Helio Strap, I would say it's definitely a struggle to get a good REM sleep score from them. Finally, the actual scores themselves, so the sleep scores that I've been getting itself from both watches, have actually been pretty good. I mean, I can't complain with this either. 86 is pretty much the lowest from both of them being on the bicep, so that's pretty good. 0.96 correlation, perfect. They're pretty much identical. Same with one being on the wrist, one on the bicep. Also 97, so that's also really good. And the other way around, also 97. So based off of the sleeping, the scores are pretty close to identical actually. The REM and the deep can fluctuate a bit, with REM fluctuating even more than the deep sleep. And the total amount of sleep time is pretty much identical as well. So they're doing pretty good. Of course, the REM sleep is really difficult for them to calculate, so I can imagine why that's really difficult. Let's just see the quick activities that I've been doing and compare the data between the two. I actually had them set up on two different devices just so that they wouldn't mix up on one profile. As you can see here, this is a run I've done quite recently. The amount of workout time has been pretty much identical. There's a 2-second difference. Average heart rate has also been really good, and the max heart rate has a slight difference, but to be honest, it's nothing crazy to worry about. Everything is looking pretty good. They're super accurate with each other. And this was another run I've done, so there's pretty much 20-second difference from start to finish. Nothing crazy, to be honest. Average heart rate was really good again, exactly the same as last time. And it's got nearly the exact same as the max heart rate as well, so 1 BPM difference. So that's all pretty good so far. Ignore the training effect a little, as the Helio Strap Pro doesn't have the same amount of data as my Helio Strap, so it didn't quite get that one correctly, because it doesn't know, and it was a new profile as well. But for the rest, everything was just super accurate and you can't really fault its exercise at all. So yeah, which one would you go for? Would you go for the Helio Strap Pro or the Helio Strap? And to be honest, if you're really heavily dedicated into high rocks and you're prepared to be spending an extra $100 on the Helio Strap Pro compared to the Helio Strap, then I would go for the Helio Strap Pro, as it pretty much gives you all of the different flexibility that the Helio Strap gives you, and you get all the insights on the motion waist strap as well. Of course, you need to have an Amazfit watch as well. I would be expecting, if you're doing something like a high rocks and you're that heavily dedicated into the Amazfit ecosystem, that this would be an amazing fit for you. To be honest, if you're just getting into the Amazfit ecosystem, or you're not at all involved in high rocks at all, then the original Helio Strap is just the best option, to be honest. It's €100 cheaper and everything works as a standalone device. You don't need to have anything extra or pay for anything extra to be able to use this. And you get pretty much everything that the Helio Strap Pro offers, apart from, of course, the waist core, but you need the watch for that, of course. For the average person, and to be honest, for the majority of everyone, go for the Helio Strap. And really for the die-hard high rocks people, then the Helio Strap Pro would be more your thing. Also, let me know your thoughts in the comment section about the Helio Strap, as I would love to see your guys' reaction on the new Helio Strap Pro. So thank you guys for watching the comparison between the two devices. If you liked the video, please go down, give it a like, and maybe even the subscribe to see even better and even more comparisons between other fitness devices. And I'll catch you guys in the next video. you.